Hey beauties, it's Riri. If you're new here, I'm an over 40 lover of all things beauty, and I'm pretty obsessed with indie brands. Speaking of indie brands, we're testing a new indie brand today. They are called Cosmetica, and they just released their first palette. Alright beauties, before we dive in, please don't forget to thumbs up the video if you like what you see, and subscribe down below if you have not yet. There's also a little join button right down there that you can click to become a channel member. Thank you to my channel members. I am so very excited to dive in. They are a brand new indie brand called Cosmetica, and the palette is called the Druid Palette. I have not even opened up my box. I want to open it with you guys. We will do swatches and we will do a look, of course. You guys know my love for indie brands and small businesses. My channel actually pretty much started with indie brands. I did a ROUGE Labs video. I've also tested out Medusa's Makeup, which was a very new brand back then. The Crayon Case, which was a very new brand back then. So yeah, I have a great respect for small businesses, indie brands. And it has a little note with it, of course, our shipping label, and it is packed well in bubble wrap. This says, "Thank you so much for ordering the Druid Palette. We really appreciate you taking the chance to try out this new brand. Feel free to leave a review on our website. We would love to hear your feedback and any ideas you have about future releases. If you have any thoughts, positive or negative, about the various formulas, wear time, which you guys know is my most important thing, blendability, color choices, packaging, design, etc., please let us know." I love that. And her name is Jordan Johnson, and again, it is Cosmetica. Here is the palette. And they are based on fantasy meets reality, fantasy meets beauty, fantasy meets makeup. They are a cruelty-free brand, and the palette has a shelf life of 12 months. I will say, I wish this wasn't maybe so muted. Maybe it had like a metallic sheen to it, or just something to kind of break it up a little bit. And it is a smaller 9-pan palette, reminiscent in size to like Colourpop's palettes. You guys know I love greens, I love grunge, so I'm very, very excited about this. There is our palette, and then I'm going to throw up some swatches. Root, Balance, Forest. Bare Form, Serenity, Sage. Ooh. Transformation, Regrowth, Old Growth. Based on swatches, I'm really, really impressed thus far. I will say the shade Transformation, it blends out super smooth and super creamy, but it has more of a kind of chunkier texture to it in the pan itself. And then the shade Old Growth, it's still swatched out really nicely and with full opacity. However, I do feel like it was slightly drier than the other three. I will also say my personal preference. I wish there were more mattes. You guys know that I like more mattes. I like to build up depth, and then I'm okay with just a few shimmers. I do think the layout is beautiful, and I really, really love the color story, and surprisingly, I don't mind that there are more shimmers. So yeah, we're just gonna go in. I'm gonna prep my lids really quickly with my Glamlite Icing Base in Buttercream, and then I'll be right back. Alright, we are all prepped. I'm also going to be testing out all of my Empress Me brushes that they sent me. I'm going to pick out the ones that I know that I will use for this particular look, and then we'll get started. Okay, based on first impressions, they're not as weighted as I typically like for a brush. I do like the length of the brush. They do feel quite soft. I think I'm going to go ahead and go into Sage first, which is this beautiful kind of chartreusey greeny shade. And I'm going to lightly push that in my crease area. Keep in mind I have hooded lids, so I do not want to keep it directly in the socket. I'm going to come slightly above because I have hooded lids, and we want to see the work that we've done. And I'm going to kind of push and stamp that into place first. Okay, so far I like the brush, and so far I like the shade. I feel like it is the shade on my lids that I'm seeing in the pan. I love this tone of green. It's like one of my favorite tones of green. I'm gonna go with this humongous fluffy brush. I'm kind of happy that they have a big brush like this. You could obviously use this for like concealer or something as well. I am just gonna use it to buff my edges out. And my brows are my Imethod Beauty stamp. I do have a video coming very soon. If it is already up, I will link it for you guys. I really like it. I just kind of went ham on this side, as you can tell. So I'm going to go back into Sage. I'm not getting any fallout, not even in the pan at all. Oh, that is, I love the tone of this. Next, I'm going to go into Forest, which is our very deep hunter green in this same exact brush. Again, I'm getting no kick up, and it picks up beautifully on the brush. I am now going to place this actually kind of in the socket, directly under the previous shade. And again, I push and stamp the product in place first. That is just my preferred method, and then I'm going to lightly start buffing it out. Now I want to slightly feather this up into the previous shade. Just again, that way when I open my eyes, you can kind of get that little kiss of the darker green. And a lot of times with these particular shades, I am looking for, you know, are they blending well? Do they become patchy or muddy, especially kind of more muddy tones, if you will? And I'm not seeing that. I'm definitely seeing a beautiful gradient between the lighter green and the deeper green. And if you're looking at this and you do have more fair skin, or you're maybe not into more kind of grungy, deeper tones, if you hold your brush down at the very bottom of it and get a huge fluffy brush, you're not going to get the level of opacity that I'm getting right now. I'm holding my brush kind of midways up and kind of stamping it into place. So if you're looking at this and you're like, oh, I might be a little too fair for that, you're not going to be. Take a fluffy brush, open fluffy brush, barely tap it in. I'll just do a little whisper over here. Barely tap it in. Hold it down at the bottom of your brush and apply. You can see I'm just kind of getting a dusting of that shade. It doesn't show up quite as dark as it does over here. So that's just a good tip. Now we'll go back to this eye. And now, instead of kind of leaning back and kind of pushing into my socket, I'm now going to look forward. And because I do have, again, heavily hooded lids, I kind of have to maneuver around this big flap of skin right here. Fun, real fun. And I just want to make sure that they are blended well. And I'm going to go back in with that fluffy brush. And again, I'm only using it in little tiny circular motions just to buff my edges and make sure everything is blended well. Yeah, that looks beautiful. All right, next up I think I'm gonna go into Old Growth right here. And I'm gonna go into that smaller pencil brush and pick up just a little tiny bit because I'm a little scared. And I'm just, wow, okay, that is quite pigmented. Less is more, I'm gonna say, with this particular shade. And I really just wanna add a little bit of dimension out here in my outer corner, and that's all I'm trying to do. Again, I'm getting zero fallout at all, like in the pan, nothing on my face. That's beautiful. This would be beautiful if you even wanted to kind of go in and do a really soft neutral look with like some soft browns from a different palette and then use this as a shadow liner. Oh, it would be stunning. And then you guys probably already guessed, I'm going to go into Transformation. It's so beautiful, that little shift that it has, and then putting this on my lower lash line. I think it's going to be beautiful. Again, it kind of moves around quite a bit when you try to touch it. It's quite crumbly in the pan, but you guys saw when I did the swatch, it blended right out. Very, very glass-like. and it is doing the same on my lid. So I'm not mad at that at all. And it has such a beautiful kind of different shift from what I'm used to. I don't think I have anything quite like this. I mean, it is a bold, intense green, and you can see the shift, kind of that reddy umber shade. And the flip in this is absolutely stunning. You could, of course, go in with a sticky base. I don't feel like you need it. You could also wet your brush. I don't feel like you need it. I'm going to take the pencil brush. I did wipe it off a little bit. And I just want to be able to kind of round this out a little bit more. I'm not aiming for like a cut crease or anything like that. I just want it to be slightly more precise. The sparkle in this, holy freaking crap. Oh, that is gorgeous. Okay, I'm going to do this eye, and then I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing with my base so we can test out our Empress Me brushes. I'll fast forward this part up, and then we'll come back and do the lower lash line and talk deets. Alright beauties, we're going to finish up our lower lash line. The brushes, the eyeshadow brushes, I'm fine with. I think they're great. But like the foundation brush and stuff, these are just not as dense and kind of firmly packed as I personally like. That is a personal preference. The blush brush, the powder brush and stuff like that, these are all nice. As far as using something like this for my foundation, it's a no from me, but holy crap, I'm obsessed with this look, you guys. We're going to go back into the Druid palette, and I'm going to go back into Old Growth. And I'm going to use a tiny pencil brush. I will also say that the Empress Me highlighter, holy crap, definitely used way too much. It's okay. I'm shining bright, y'all. Alright beauties, here's our finished look. I'm going to put mascara on so you'll see the completed look. I'll pop up pictures. But I'm testing a mascara today. I think this is one of my favorite looks I've done in a very, very long time. Aside from the foundation brush with the Empress Me not being my favorite, I really have loved everything. The brushes work great. The highlighter is absolutely insane. It's gorgeous. And the palette, I love. Again, I kind of wish that there was just more dimension here, just personal preference and just aesthetically speaking. I do like that it is a smaller 9-pan palette. I like that there are so many beautiful to kind of duochrome shifts in here. I love the level of depth within the palette. I'm super impressed by everything. Again, the only shadow, the transformation, is just slightly more kind of crumbly in the pan. It's just a different texture, but upon application, it's exquisite. This is beautiful. I am excited to see what they have come out next. Are you thinking about this palette? Were you on the fence? Are you going to go pick it up? Let me know. Let's have that conversation down below. I love you beauties. Stay happy, healthy, and safe, and be your best beautiful. Bye beauties.